Growing up, I absolutely hated getting haircuts. So finally, I came to an agreement with my parents that I would get a buzz cut once a year and they would leave me alone for the rest of it. And this worked great for a while, until one January when I thought of the perfect joke idea, and so I decided not to cut my hair for another 4 months. The joke relied on 3 things to work: really long hair, family I hadn't seen in quite a while, and finally, a photo. But this couldn't just be any photo. Oh no. This photo needed to emphasize my hair very clearly, but without anybody realizing it. However, you can't just randomly send a selfie to someone you haven't even talked to in months. That would just seem really off, and they would know something was up. So what do? How do you send a photo of your really long hair without it being suspicious? Well, the solution was actually quite simple, and all it took was a dog. This dog, right here. And what's that? Up in the corner. Is that a girl? No, that was me. That's why I don't normally grow my hair out that long. And then came time for the visit. Now, one of the family members I was visiting shaved his head once a week. So I figured if I went to that house first, I could get my head completely bald right before visiting everybody else. But that household was actually the second one we visited. So the first house we visited was Trevor's house. And when I first walk in, Trevor looks at me, looks at my head, looks back at me. Well, I guess he looks to my hair and then back to my head because he's looking at my face. And he says, "Did you happen to cut your hair since I last saw you?" And that was it. Now, the next house I went to visit was Bob's. Bob is the guy that keeps himself bald. And so I figured if I just asked him, he'd help me shave my head because I've never shaved my head before. I've never gone bald. In fact, I've had this fear of going bald for as long as I can remember. So that was another reason why I did it, is to overcome a fear. So I asked him, and he was busy or something, but his wife, Mary, said, "Oh, sure, I can help you out." Well, she said it a little bit differently. "Hey, Mary, would you help me shave my head and go bald?" "No, not your beautiful hair." But aside from that, she was fine. So I sat down in the chair in the middle of the kitchen and... Wait, no, before all of this, I took a pair of scissors and I went in front of the mirror and I grabbed my hair and I snipped off my hair. Because I've always, do you ever have that urge when you're looking in a mirror and you're holding a pair of scissors? And you're like, hey, I've got some hair right here. Maybe I should just snip some of it off. And I've never actually done that before. So that's another first experience for me. I took a pair of dull scissors and I worked at the hair for 20 seconds until it came off. And I walk in the main room with a wad of hair in my left hand and scissors in my right. And I've got this wide-eyed grin, crazy look to my face because I just cut off my hair. And then I sat down in the chair in the middle of the room and Mary started trimming my head. She started by just trimming it down, cutting off a lot of the hair and then giving me a buzz cut. And then finally, we got the shaving cream. I leaned over the sink and we started the actual shave. Now, one thing I never knew about myself until that point was I have 3 big moles on the top of my head, and I always have had hair covering it, so I never noticed it. So leaning over top of the sink, shaving cream all over my head, and all of a sudden she starts hitting these moles. And it starts stinging, because, shaving cream into a cut, it's not the greatest. But don't worry, the next part will be even worse, she says. And so I've already got a stinging head at this point, and it's hurting. And the next part's gonna be worse? How am I gonna survive that? I mean, not to sound like a sissy or anything, but I sound like a sissy right now. Anyways, so finally, all the hair gets shaved off. And then she puts on the cream, and I'm expecting the worst. I'm bracing myself against the impact, and it doesn't hurt at all. It's just soothing on top of my head, and I'm confused because it's supposed to hurt a lot more. But no, the worst part was probably washing the shaving cream off of my head, and past that, it was easy. And once I'm bald, I reach up to the top of my head where I've had 9-inch hair for the last however long, and there's nothing there. I don't know if you've ever felt a bald head before. I hadn't, but it's just a bunch of tiny pinpricks, just very sharp little needles that can't really stab you because they're so short. And it was such a weird feeling that I couldn't stand it. Touching my head was, it felt so weird. But I was finally bald. Now that I was bald, I walked around the same household I was in, and one of the younger kids didn't even realize I was going bald. And he was like, "Wow, what happened to your hair?" The best part about this joke is that I can reuse it over and over because every single household I go to, they don't know I'm bald. And it was great. Now that I'm bald, I head over to the Williams house. And I walk inside wearing an ashanka, I think they're called. It's a Russian-styled hat. I'll show you a photo right here. But I walk in wearing that, so they can't tell I'm bald. Now, previously, I had sent them the photo, and so I walk in with the hat, and we're talking for a while. There's probably 5 of my family members just gathered in the main room as we walk in, and we're all chatting. And one of them mentions my hat, and they're like, oh, that's a cool hat. Where'd you get that? I'm like, oh, this? And I pull it off, and the reaction was priceless. All 5 of them were like, what? Mind blown. They've never been around a person with bald head before, I don't think. And all 5 of them at the exact same time, in complete shock. Probably one of the best reactions. However, the best reaction was 5 minutes later, because George wasn't in the main room when I came in. And I'm like, where's George? And they say, oh, he's upstairs. So I head up there, and he's just coming out of the restroom. I'm wearing my hat again, of course. And I'm like, hi, George. He looks over, and he says, oh, nice hat. And as he's saying that, I pull it off, and he goes, whoa. And he falls over backwards, stumbles. And that was the best reaction, I would say. Well, the worst reaction came a week later. I'm about to go on a hike with my friend Hayden. We were meeting up at a parking lot, then going to drive over to the hike. So I see him walk up, and he hops in the vehicle, and we're chatting for a while. And like 5 minutes later, he finally realizes. He's like, whoa, you got a haircut. Yes, I did. Going back a week again, at the Williams house. The same night I arrived, I went with George to some sort of public event of sorts. And at that event, I look over and I see my friend Vanessa. And so I walk up to her. I haven't seen her in a while and hadn't planned on seeing her this trip. So I think, oh, this is kind of cool. We start talking. I say, hi, Vanessa. And she's looking at me weird. Finally, she says, oh, I thought I recognized you. I'm like, I know this guy, but who is he? Turns out me being bald completely threw her off. She didn't know who I was. And that was perfect. That was just perfect. And after that, there's one more household that I had yet to visit. I head over there, and it's rather hot at this point. It's midday, they don't have AC in the house, and it's a little bit warm. And I walk in wearing my hat, and my friend is sitting there like shorts and a t-shirt, dying of heat, and looks over at me and says, how the flip are you wearing a hat? It's so hot in here. And I reach up, and I take it off. And the reaction was a mix between a scream and a giggle. I'm not entirely sure how to describe it, and there's no way I could replicate it. I don't think she could if she tried either. That was... It was fun. And now that's the end of this hair story. But next April, when I cut my hair again, I'm giving one of my friends permission to do whatever with my hair a week before I cut it, which means I could have some weird looking hair. And the thing is, I have to go out in public. I can't cut it right after they whatchamacallit. So whatever they do, I'm gonna have to live through for a week. And that'll be fun. Now, one more thing. In my last commentary video, people were worried about me not getting enough sleep. And I would like to say that even though I sounded so optimistic and excited about editing late, turns out I'd rather just get sleep, because unless I'm in the right mood, making videos is kind of annoying. And most of the time I'm not in the right mood, so I'm making sure I'm keeping up on sleep. There you go, you don't have to be worried anymore. In fact, I got like 9 hours of sleep in the last 5 nights. Wait, no, I've averaged almost 9 hours of sleep. Huge difference. And aside from that, I really hope you enjoyed this, because I sure did. Oh look, it's a video. You should watch it. You should click on it. You should do it right now.